Let's bring in national trial attorney Michael Jaafar to talk about this one. Michael, what's standing out to you about what we're learning from this father of the boyfriend?
I mean, what's really becoming apparent is that this was an ongoing issue and that they had been dealing with it. Not a single person thought that it would escalate to the point where the defendant, Hassan, the father, would try to allegedly kill his daughter. And so he seems baffled. He seems very annoyed. With the prior attorney was cross-examining him, said, "Is it fair to say that you guys are not friends?" He said, "That's very fair." So this is becoming this is showing to the jury that this is a long-standing issue, that this is something that they've been dealing with for a while. I think the jury at this point, if the trial, for example, were to stop today, I think the jury would reasonably infer that this father did not want his daughter dating that man's son. I think the jury will reasonably infer that if the trial were to stop today. And that does not bode well at all for the defendant, not even 1%, because at the end of the day, to allegedly attack your own daughter because she's dating a person, that to me, it's anathema to what these jurors will be thinking. That would be anathema to the culture, to the Western culture. Let's just call it what it is. It's complete anathema. And so these jurors will reasonably infer that he was a villain in this story.
Where do you go with this if you're the defense? Because this is a difficult case for them, especially when you've got this video. But we're hearing now more about this forbidden love, this ongoing issue. Are they going to lean into this being a parenting style, or do you think they will try to layer in what may be more of a cultural norm for this family?
If they try to layer in that it's a cultural norm, they would do poorly in this case. Here's what I think is going to happen. So first and foremost, that cross-examination by the prior attorney was very awkward. They clearly have no cards. What I think that they're going to do is they are going to bank, and this is a little bit of a conspiracy theory. I think they're going to bank on the fact that the daughter will eventually testify and say that she would kind of intercede in their favor, not as simple as, hey, my parents are fine, not that at all. But I think that they would bank on that because in the older cultures, this daughter will eventually be gotten to. She has communication with her sister still. I'm sure that the defense attorneys and the prosecutors are also worried, like, hey, will somebody from the family get to her? Because if they do and she testifies, she'll know when she testifies that if my parents are proven beyond a reasonable doubt that my father attempted to kill me, he's gone for life, my family life is over, my family, my sister, I will destroy my family. I think the defense will be banking on that. I'm not rooting for that. But I think the defense, it's got to factor into their planning for this case, because if that daughter takes the stand, if she does, and they could force her, she's a victim, she's not the defendant, they could force her to take the stand. That would be the only card they would have, as well as the fact that, you know, breaking down the elements of, was this attempted murder, her eyes rolled into the back of her head. Those are the only two plays they have to in this case, which I'm so shocked this case hasn't pled out already, because this seems like a very, very, very typical plea. But the fact that it hasn't shows that somebody on one side is playing a game of chicken with the other side.
Yeah, really interesting analysis, Michael. And you're right, this victim, she is going to be taking the stand. We anticipate today it's going to be audio only because she was a minor at the time. So we'll hear what she says now. We know there has been a bit of a pullback when she talked to investigators the next time versus what she said on the day, in the moment. We will all see together.
But I guess...
All right, hitting the pause button because we do have to get in a break. Before we do that, let's bring back in national trial attorney Michael Jaafar, because, Michael, I'm trying to see where the defense is going with this. They want to know if basically she was sneaking around, if she was at the house that she wasn't supposed to be at. And we're hearing about a September 16th last year incident that they can't get into. The dad is referencing it. It's important to him. He knows the exact date, but the prosecutor instructed him not to get into the details of it.
I think what they're trying to show was that there was behavior that the defendant saw in their daughter that was concerning, that had nothing to do with just one day they found out she's dating somebody and then they attacked her. I think that's what the defense is trying to show the jury, is that this is an ongoing thing. This is, you know, a delinquent child who was giving her parents a hard time. She was leaving the house. She was a minor. They're responsible for her. And I think that will factor into their closing argument. They're trying to lay the foundation for it. It's a little bit clumsy, a little bit awkward, but that's really the only thing they can do. And I think they have to do that.
And I'm surprised. Do you think that that helps them if they make this more ongoing? Because to me, that starts to sound more premeditated, more we've had time to think about it, and we're really upset with her, and it's building and building, rather than this morning we wake up, she's run away, we are just horrified that she might be somewhere in trouble, then we find her, and then we need to bring her back for this trip. I'm curious what you think actually works better, if this was sudden or if this was actually long term.
No, I think you're right. I think it doesn't bode well for them that this was an ongoing thing, but I think the defense attorneys have no choice but to show that, and maybe this is, in their opinion, this gives them fodder for what they're going to do in their defense case. But I don't think it bodes well for them that this is a long, ongoing thing. I think that it would be better for them if this was sudden, but it wasn't sudden, and the evidence to the jury is going to be laid out that it wasn't sudden. But maybe also what also might be scaring them more so even than that, Julia, is maybe that they wanted to show the jury that it wasn't because she was dating an African American. Maybe that's the biggest tension that they have in the room, is they don't want the jury to believe that, because they're looking at the jury. For all we know, 9 out of those 10 jurors are African Americans. We don't know that. If 9 out of 12 of them are African Americans, they might say, we want this jury to believe that it was an ongoing thing as opposed to just a sudden thing. We found out she's dating an African American. That could be, those are the only two options, right? And as a defense attorney, you always know your customer. You're looking at your customer. You're in the room with your customer. You know how to sell to your customer. You're a glorified salesman as a criminal defense attorney. You have to sell to that jury, and they're trying to sell something to this jury. You and I are guessing as to what it is. It's one of the two. One of those two guesses is the right guess. Oh, yeah. That's what they're trying to sell.
Certainly. They know their jury. I will tell you the information we have from our producer is that the jury is mostly white, 1 African-American, 1 person of Asian descent on the jury, and we don't know if there'll be alternates, but, you know, I think what you are saying in terms of what jurors could be thinking about motivation is something that's worth discussing, and we may hear that taken head on in closing argument that we didn't hear in the openings. Michael, stand by. We are going to get in our break.
So besides...
This witness telling what he saw, but you can hear the immaturity in his voice. This is a high school student. Let's bring in National Trial Attorney Michael Jaafar. I also want to mention for those watching that we are dropping the audio for minor names. So it's not a problem with your television or your phone. It is that we are making sure that those friends that he is naming don't get through the air. But Michael Jaafar, I want to talk about actually this testimony that we're anticipating, the victim. Do you think she is going to be able to get into any other issues in her household?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Oh, that's a really good question. I don't know. Will she be allowed to get into it? I think she'll have to. I think it'll be very relevant. Again, she's a victim, so she doesn't, she has to testify. That would be big. Her testimony is the case. Her testimony is everything. Will she be able to get into it? I mean, she would be allowed to get into it. It would be very relevant. Whether or not strategically it would make sense, I think it makes sense for both sides. I think you're going to see basically the entire case argued in the direct examination and the cross-examination of her. But I do think the issues in her household are relevant, so I think she'll get into it.
All right. We are standing by to see when that happens. Michael Jaafar, thank you for your analysis.